Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vivraj Shukla and today we are going to be doing the history and civics. So let's start.
Okay, so now we are going to be learning the Union Parliament, part 1. So we are going to be looking into the federal setup in India or the federal system in India. Okay, so what do we mean by the federalism in India? So it's basically like a system of government. All the administrative powers are divided between the central and the state governments, and both are the supreme within their respective spheres according to the constitution. Okay, so what do we mean by federalism? It is basically a system of government where the country or with the administrative powers and the financial and jurisdiction powers are divided between the central and the state government, and both are supreme within their respective spheres or within their respective locality. Okay, and this is according to the constitution. So we have to remember the 3 points, what, which is the administrative powers are divided between the central and the state government, and both are the supreme within their respective areas, and this is happening, or this is allotted according to the constitution. Okay, now we move on to the importance of federal system in India, especially in a country like India. So basically, India is a very large country with 28 states and union territories, 8 union territories. Okay, and the federal system is the only system suitable for India because of its linguistic regions. By linguistic regions, we mean people like there are various people in India living with different languages, different communities, different religions. So to handle such a big community, such a big country with so many people and so many different thoughts, we need a federal system or a federal setup. Okay, then the states in India have been given rights to participate in the functioning of the government so that they help in, like, basically with a motive to help the government. Okay, now there is a separation of legislatives as well as administrative powers in between the union and the states. So the powers are equally divided between the union and the states, but according to the area, respective spheres. Okay, according to their area, how big it is, how many people and how many religious heads of the religious communities are there located there. Okay, so the legislative and administrative powers are between the union and the states. Okay, then no system of federation can be successful unless both the union and the states have adequate financial resources to discharge their duties. Okay, I hope these points are very clear. Now we move on to the non-federal features. So it's basically said that the Constitution of India has certain non-federal or unitary features. Okay, so it's not merely federal in form but unitary in spirit. So first point is a strong center, a single constitution for union and states, then a flexibility of the constitution, single citizenship, inequality of representation in Rajya Sabha, and existence of union territories. So inequality of representation in Rajya Sabha basically means that the representation in Rajya Sabha, it depends upon the population of the state or the place. So the Uttar Pradesh might be representing in Rajya Sabha with more number of members, whereas Delhi might be representing in Rajya Sabha with less number of members as compared to Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so this is the difference or the inequality of representation in Rajya Sabha, which is a non-federal feature of India. Now, what is a parliament? What is a union parliament? So, the parliament is the body of people's representatives who have supreme power of governance in a democratic country. Okay, so basically, the parliament is made up of, like, it is a body of people's representatives who take active participation in the governance of the country. Demo- okay, democratic country. Now we look into the Lok Sabha. So the Lok Sabha is the house of the people. The members of the Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people of India. Okay. So Lok Sabha is one of the house in the parliament. So there are two houses in the parliament, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. So as the name suggests, Lok Sabha, so is the member of the people, sorry, it's the house of the people. The members of the Lok Sabha are directly elected by the citizens of India. Okay, its term is of 5 years, but it can be dissolved by the president on the advice of the prime minister before its expiry, and its term may be extended by 1 year in case of a national emergency. So we will have to remember the 2 to 3 points under term. Composition. So maximum strength of the Lok Sabha is 550 members, with 530 members from states and 20 from union territories. The allotment of the members to the various states is made on a population basis. Okay, and I want to add a point over here that the 104th Constitutional Amendment Act passed in January 2020 did away with the provision of nomination of Anglo-Indians to Lok Sabha and certain state assemblies. The reservation was provided for a period of 70 years, which would have expired on January 25, 2020. So basically, it means that there was a constitutional amendment meant that two Anglo Indians are like also asked to be the members of the Lok Sabha. So there are two members from the Anglo Indian community who represent in Lok Sabha. And this was the 104th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, so we will have to remember this. So in total, now there are 552 members. Okay, so 530 are the elected members, 20 are from the Union territories, and 2 are elected by the president, the Anglo Indians. Now we look into the qualifications and the disqualifications. So, in qualifications, we see that the person or the member should not be of unsound mind. He should not be a proclaimed criminal. He should not. He should be a citizen of India and should at least be of 25 years of age and should not be an insolvent. Okay. And disqualifications, we see that if he is an undischarged insolvent, he may be disqualified as a member of Lok Sabha. If he holds any office of profit under the government of India, if he is of unsound mind, if he is disqualified by or under any law made by the parliament, and if he is not a citizen of India. So these are some points under which the member of the Lok Sabha can be disqualified from being a member of the Lok Sabha. Okay. Vacancy of seats. So if a member becomes subject to any of the disqualifications, the seat of the member becomes vacant. And if a member resigns or his or her seat by writing to the speaker, okay. So if a member resigns his seat by writing to the speaker or to the chairman, as the case may be, so his seat becomes vacant in that matter. Then if a person is disqualified under the anti-defection law, so if a person is disqualified from being a member or ground of defection under the anti-defection law, according to anti-defection law, when a member of a house gives up the membership of his party or votes against the direction given by the party to which he belongs, he shall be disqualified from being a member of the house. Okay. Then if a person is already a member of state legislature and if a member is without the permission of the house absent for a period of 60 days. Okay, so if a member is without the permission of the house absent for all the meetings for a period of 60 days, in computing said period, no account is taken of any period during which the house is prorogued or is adjourned for more than 4 consecutive days. Okay, so basically, if a member without the permission or without informing the house that why is he being absent and is absent for a period of 60 days, then he might be disqualified. Okay. With this, we are done with a small part of the Union Parliament chapter. In next part, we will be continuing the rest. So in today's session, we basically saw that what do we mean by the parliament, then what do we mean by the federal system, and why is it important uh, in India, especially in a country like India with 28 states and 8 union territories and linguistic regions. Okay. Then we even looked in the non-federal or unitary features of India and also the Lok Sabha. In Lok Sabha, we also looked in the term. So it's a 5 years term and it can be disqualified by president on advice of prime minister before its term. And it may be extended. The term of Lok Sabha may be extended by a year in case of any national emergency. Okay. Then we also looked into the composition with 552 members now, with 530 members, elected members from the states, 20 members from the union territories, and 2 members are elected by the president from the Anglo Indian community, which was made which was made or asked in the 104th Constitutional Amendment Act in January 2020. Okay. Then we also looked into the qualifications and disqualifications of a member of the Lok Sabha and also the vacancy of seats. So with this, we are done with a small part of this chapter. I hope you like the video. Do like, share, and subscribe to my channel and comment down if you have any doubts. Okay, bye. Thank you.